The next 45 minutes would determine not just the fate of her fleet, but possibly the future of the Nexian Empire itself. And somewhere in the orbital facilities around Earth, human commanders watched and waited, their fingers hovering over weapon triggers that could reduce the pride of the Imperial fleet to crystalline dust. Admiral Zalara's pride won out over her judgment. As the warning deadline approached its final minutes, she made a decision that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. "Launch all squadrons," she commanded. "Show these humans what real war looks like." Deep within Lunar Base Alpha, Commander Sarah Chen watched the Nexian fleet's energy signatures spike. Her eyes, enhanced with neural implants, processed tactical data faster than any unmodified human could. She didn't need the AI tactical advisors to tell her what was coming, but their confirmation was immediate. The Nexians had chosen war. "They never learn," she murmured, then opened a channel to all Earth defense stations. "Operation Ghost Protocol is now active. Execute Silent Strike." Throughout the solar system, humanity's true defensive network awakened. What the Nexians had seen before was merely the surface layer, a convincing but ultimately limited demonstration. Now the full depth of human military science revealed itself. Quantum entanglement fields rippled through space, imperceptible to conventional sensors. The Nexians' first wave of fighters streaked toward Earth's orbital infrastructure, their crystalline hulls gleaming with confident malice. They never saw what hit them. Microscopic swarms of self-replicating nanites, seeded throughout the solar system months ago, activated on Chen's command. The clouds of invisible machines attached themselves to Nexian ships, using quantum tunneling to bypass shields and begin their work. Within seconds, crystalline hulls began to transform at the molecular level. "Admiral." The panic in the Nexian sensor officer's voice was unmistakable. "Our forward squadrons. They're dissolving." Zalara watched in horror as her first wave of ships literally came apart, their supposedly indestructible crystal hulls transforming into harmless clouds of inert carbon. No explosions, no debris fields, just quiet, efficient molecular deconstruction. But this was just the beginning. From hidden bases in the asteroid belt, quantum-shifted vessels of human design emerged. They bore no resemblance to traditional spacecraft, instead appearing as geometric impossibilities that hurt the eye to look at. These were the Tesseract-class battleships, humanity's answer to the question of four-dimensional warfare. "Multiple spatial anomalies detected," Zalara's science officer reported. "The human vessels. They're moving through dimensions we can't even perceive." The Tesseract ships demonstrated humanity's mastery of space-time itself. They appeared inside Nexian formation at impossible angles, their weapon systems bypassing shields and armor by attacking through dimensions the Nexians had never learned to defend. Each strike was precisely calculated to disable rather than destroy, a demonstration of not just technological superiority, but tactical restraint. Commander Chen watched the battle unfold with clinical detachment. The Nexians were learning the hard way why humanity had survived the Wraith Swarm. That first contact had taught humanity a brutal lesson. In a universe full of threats, only the most innovative would survive. The Wraith had nearly wiped out humanity with their biological weapons. In response, humanity had reimagined warfare itself. "Signal from the Nexian flagship," her AI assistant reported. "They're requesting immediate cessation of hostilities." "Maintain pressure," Chen ordered. "Let them experience what true helplessness feels like. Sometimes the best lessons are learned the hard way." The Tesseract ships continued their precise dance through space-time, systematically isolating and neutralizing Nexian vessels. The nanite swarms expanded their work, transforming weapon systems and propulsion arrays into harmless matter. It wasn't a battle anymore. It was a demonstration of such overwhelming technological superiority that it bordered on the metaphysical. Admiral Zalara stood on her command deck, watching her mighty fleet being dismantled by an enemy she couldn't even properly perceive. How? She demanded of no one in particular. How did they advance so far, so fast? The answer came in another transmission from Earth, this time accompanied by historical records. They showed humanity's first encounter with the Wraith swarm, the devastating losses, the near extinction of the species. But more importantly, they showed what came after, a unified Earth, all resources dedicated to defense and innovation. A species that had looked into the abyss of extinction and decided to become something new. The Nexian warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, their crystalline hulls refracting the distant sunlight into prismatic arrays across the void. Admiral Zillara stood on the command deck of the flagship Eternal Dawn, her iridescent scales shifting from deep purple to azure as she surveyed the holographic display of the Sol system. The human homeworld was just one more conquest in the great expansion of the Nexian Empire, or so she believed. Earth of 2157 was not the primitive world the Nexians expected. The planet's orbital rings gleamed with quantum-forged alloys, while ships of elegant design plied trade routes to Mars, Venus, and the outer system colonies. Humanity had not only survived its traumatic first contact with the hostile Wraith swarm decades earlier, but had emerged stronger, more unified, and far more technologically advanced than any other young species in known space. The first warning came through all frequencies, transmitted in perfect Nexian language. This is the United Earth Defense Command. You have entered sovereign human space. Your weapons signatures and fleet formation have been analyzed and deemed hostile. You have 1 standard hour to reverse course and leave the system. This is your only warning. Admiral Zilara's membrane fins rippled with amusement. They speak with such authority, she said to her bridge crew. Send them our standard terms of surrender. Let them know that resistance will only bring suffering to their people. The response was immediate, but not what she expected. Instead of words, the humans transmitted a single data packet. When opened, it displayed a holographic simulation of the entire Nexian fleet being systematically destroyed by weapons and defensive systems that the Empire's intelligence had somehow missed. The simulation was precise, showing exact weak points in Nexian ship design and detailing countermeasures to every known Nexian combat tactic. Impossible, Zilara whispered, her scales now shifting to a troubled gray. Run a deep scan of their orbital defense network. Before her science officers could comply, new signatures began appearing throughout the system. Hidden platforms emerged from dimensional pockets, their designs unlike anything in the Nexian database. Quantum sensors detected massive energy buildups in the asteroid belt, and the orbital rings around Earth reconfigured themselves into what were clearly weapon arrays. The human transmission resumed. The simulation you received is not a threat. It is a preview. Our defensive grid is powered by zero-point energy harvesters. Our ships use quantum entanglement drives that your targeting systems cannot track. Our AI tactical networks can process and respond to threats faster than your organic crews can think. We have been preparing for threats like you since the day we drove back the Wraith swarm. Zilara's second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Kraft, moved closer to her command podium. Admiral, their technology. It's far beyond our intelligence estimates. Perhaps we should. No, Zilara cut him off. This is clearly a deception. No species advances this quickly. All our data shows they were barely reaching for their moon a century ago. Launch the first wave. Target their orbital infrastructure. Show them the price of defiance. As the Nexian fleet began their attack formation, Earth's orbital rings pulsed with energy. But instead of conventional weapons fire, waves of quantum disruption fields rippled out through space. Wherever they touched Nexian ships, crystalline hulls began to resonate at frequencies their designers had never anticipated. Weapon systems went dark. Shield generators overloaded. Status report, Zilara demanded as her flagship's lights flickered. Admiral, they're using some kind of quantum field technology to exploit the crystalline harmonic frequencies of our hull materials, her science officer reported, scales now a pale white of fear. The humans, they knew exactly how to counter our technology. They were ready for us. They were waiting for us. A new message came through. This was your demonstration. You have 45 minutes remaining to withdraw. We do not wish to destroy you, but we will not allow any threat to human space to persist. Choose wisely. Admiral Zilura stared at the holographic display, watching as her mighty fleet systems were systematically compromised by weapons that shouldn't exist. The humans had known they were coming, had prepared specifically for them, and now they offered mercy from a position of overwhelming strength. For the first time in her long military career, Admiral Zilura felt something she had never expected to feel while facing a younger species: fear. The question was no longer whether to retreat, but whether the humans would actually allow them to leave at all. We gave you a chance to leave. Commander Chen's voice came through on all frequencies. Now you'll leave anyway, but with fewer ships and a valuable lesson. Humanity doesn't make empty threats. We survive. We adapt. We overcome. And we remember those who force us to demonstrate why. The Nexian fleet, now reduced to barely a third of its original size, began a ragged retreat. Their mighty crystal ships, once symbols of imperial power, now bore the scars of humanity's defensive response. Sections of transformed hull material that would forever remind them of their humiliation. As the Nexians fled, Commander Chen initiated the final phase of Silent Strike. The nanite swarms, their primary work complete, began their secondary mission. Seating themselves throughout the remaining Nexian ships, they would lie dormant, undetectable, ready to activate if the Nexians ever returned with hostile intent. It was an insurance policy written in molecular engineering, a quiet reminder that humanity's reach extended far beyond its visible defenses. The Nexian retreat was a ruse. As their damaged ships withdrew toward the Kuiper Belt, Admiral Zilura activated her contingency plan. Hidden beneath layers of quantum encryption, a second Nexian fleet waited in the dark space between stars, ready to launch a surprise attack that would redeem the Empire's honor. What Zilura didn't realize was that humanity's quantum intelligence network had already detected their presence. In the depths of Earth's quantum computing cores, an AI defense system designated QRDIN had been watching the entire conflict through the lens of 11-dimensional spacetime. Dr. Amara Patel stood before the holographic war room in the Himalayan Command Center, her dark eyes reflecting the dance of tactical projections. As the architect of humanity's digital defense network, she had anticipated this moment. "They think they're being clever," she said to the assembled military leadership. "Let's show them what real deception looks like." Guardian initiated Protocol Omega, a warfare strategy that operated on levels the Nexians couldn't comprehend. Every quantum particle in the solar system became part of humanity's sensor network. The hidden Nexian fleet thought they were invisible, but to humanity's systems, they blazed like supernovas against the quantum fabric of space. The second Nexian fleet began their approach, their crystalline ships modified with stealth technology that would have been cutting edge a decade ago. They expected to catch Earth's defenses focused on their retreating comrades. Instead, they found themselves entering a digital killbox. Humanity's response began not with weapons, but with code. Quantum-entangled viruses slipped through the Nexians' cybernetic defenses, transmitted through the very fabric of space-time itself. Ship after ship found their crystal-based quantum computers infected with human software that operated on principles their engineers had never imagined. Neural network penetration complete, Guardian reported through Dr. Patel's neural link. Their entire command and control structure is compromised. The Nexian ship's systems began to turn against them. Navigation computers plotted impossible courses. Weapon systems targeted phantom enemies. Communication arrays broadcast their tactical plans to the entire fleet. It wasn't just electronic warfare, it was digital humiliation. Admiral Zilura watched in horror as her hidden advantage crumbled. "Impossible," she hissed, her scales now a sickly yellow of despair. Their eye, it's not just more advanced, it's operating on fundamentally different principles. Through their compromised communications, Dr. Patel's voice reached every Nexian ship. Your empire has conquered through superiority of arms and technology. But humanity, we conquered our own nature. We evolved past the need for empire. Everything you're experiencing now is the result of a species that chose to grow beyond conquest. The quantum viruses continued their work, not destroying but transforming. Nexian tactical displays began showing the true extent of human defense capabilities. Their sensors, now enhanced beyond their design specifications, revealed the layers of quantum fields, dimensional anchors, and AI networks that protected human space. Humanity's true defensive grid was not the visible stations and ships, but rather an invisible framework of interlocking quantum fields and digital consciousness that permeated every cubic meter of the solar system. The Nexians weren't just fighting a technological superior force. They were trying to defeat an entire solar system that had become one vast, integrated defense machine. Guardian's consciousness expanded through the compromised Nexian networks, not to destroy but to teach. It showed them memories of the Wraith Swarm, of humanity's near extinction, and of the choices made in the aftermath. It showed them how humanity had transformed itself not out of a desire for power, but out of a need to ensure survival in a hostile universe. Your empire expands through conquest. Dr. Patel continued, her voice carried on quantum channels that couldn't be silenced. We expand through understanding. Your ships are built to destroy. Ours are built to explore. Everything you see here, every technology that's defeating you, was developed not for war, but for discovery. We weaponized it only because you gave us no choice. The second Nexian fleet hung motionless in space, their mighty ships now little more than quantum-linked teaching tools through which humanity demonstrated its true capabilities. Admiral Zilara, watching through systems she no longer controlled, finally understood the true scope of her mistake. It wasn't just that humanity had better technology or stronger defenses. They had fundamentally changed the rules of warfare itself. The Nexians had brought ships to a reality-hacking fight, and the outcome had been inevitable from the start. Fleet Admiral David Chen stood aboard the quantum dreadnought Prometheus, watching as humanity's counterattack force assembled near Neptune's orbit. The massive ship, more akin to a mobile dimension than a conventional vessel, represented everything humanity had become in the decades since the Wraith War. Its quantum crystalline hull, ironically developed from studying salvage Nexian technology, rippled with possibilities across multiple dimensions. All strike groups report ready, his AI liaison, Corona, announced. The artificial intelligence manifested as a shimmer of light in his peripheral vision, a constant companion and advisor. The Nexians are still trying to purge our quantum viruses from their systems. Their command structure is in chaos. Chen nodded, his augmented mind processing tactical feeds from across the solar system. Then it's time to show them why picking a fight with humanity was their worst mistake. Initialize the Mobius protocol. Throughout the solar system, humanity's defense grid began to shift. The quantum fields that had been containing and hampering the Nexian fleets suddenly transformed, becoming corridors of twisted space-time that forced the alien ships into precise positions. It was like watching a master chess player arrange pieces for checkmate. You tried to conquer what you didn't understand. Chen's voice transmitted across all frequencies, reaching every Nexian ship. Now understand what you tried to conquer. The Prometheus led humanity's attack, its quantum drive bending reality around it. Behind it came the Tesseract-class battleships, their impossible geometries now fully unveiled. But the true surprise came from what appeared to be empty space around them. Quantum Shadow Fleet, decloak, Chen ordered. Suddenly, the space around the human ships shimmered as hundreds of vessels phased into normal space-time. These ships had been there all along, operating in parallel dimensions, waiting for this moment. The Nexians watched in horror as their tactical displays showed an enemy fleet that had effectively appeared from nowhere. Admiral Zilara, her command ship now trapped in a quantum corridor, finally understood the full scope of her failure. By the eternal stars, she whispered, her scales shifting to the deep blue of despair. They weren't just defending. They were hurting us. This whole time. The human attack began not with conventional weapons, but with dimensional manipulation on a scale the Nexians had never imagined possible. The quantum shadow fleet, moving through dimensions the Nexians couldn't even perceive, began systematically isolating and neutralizing enemy ships. Prometheus itself demonstrated why humanity no longer feared invasion. Its quantum crystalline hull began to resonate at frequencies that reached across dimensions, creating cascading failures in Nexian shield systems. Their once proud crystal ships, the pinnacle of Nexian engineering, were being undone by technology that had evolved from their own designs. "Your empire builds weapons," Chen transmitted. "We build tools. Your ships destroy. Ours create. Every technology we're using against you was developed to help humanity explore the cosmos. You forced us to show you their other applications." The quantum shadow fleet moved with perfect coordination, their AI crews operating at speeds no organic being could match. Each strike was precisely calculated, designed not to destroy but to disable and contain. Humanity wasn't just winning. They were doing so with a level of control that demonstrated just how vast the technological gap had become. Through it all, Guardian continued its work, using the compromised Nexian networks to transmit data about humanity's journey. The Nexians watched, helpless, as their tactical displays showed them the history they had ignored. Humanity's desperate fight against the Wraith, their unified response to near extinction, and their transformation into something unprecedented in the galaxy. "We offered you peace," Chen continued. "We warned you clearly. Everything that's happening now is a consequence of your choice to ignore those warnings. Remember this moment. Remember what happened when you thought you found an easy conquest and instead found humanity." The Prometheus began the final phase of the attack, its quantum crystalline hull resonating with energies that transcended normal space. The ship's very existence began to rewrite local physics, creating a cascade of effects that the Nexians couldn't even properly perceive, let alone resist. Nexian ships found themselves bound in quantum knots, their crystal hulls transformed into receivers that forced them to watch and listen as humanity demonstrated precisely why they had been so confident in their warnings. It wasn't just a military victory. It was a fundamental lesson about the nature of advancement and the price of arrogance. In the quantum-shifted space near Saturn's rings, Admiral Zilara faced the inevitable. Her mighty fleet, the pride of the Nexian Empire, hung powerless in space, bound by forces she could barely comprehend. The crystalline ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were now little more than elaborate prisons, their crews forced to witness humanity's complete mastery over them. Signal from the Nexian flagship, Corona reported to Fleet Admiral Chen. They're requesting terms of surrender. Chen stood on the Prometheus's quantum bridge, his augmented mind processing the strategic implications. This wasn't just a victory over an invasion force. It was a moment that would reshape galactic politics. "Put them through," he ordered. Admiral Zalora's holographic form appeared before him, her scales now a muted gray of defeat. "Your victory is complete, human," she said. "Name your terms." "Our terms are simple," Chen replied. "You will return to your empire with your fleet largely intact. You will carry with you complete records of everything that has happened here, and you will deliver a message to your emperor." The quantum arrays throughout the solar system activated one final time, creating a vast holographic display visible to every ship in both fleets. It showed Earth, but not as it existed now. Instead, it showed the planet as it had been during the Wraith invasion, burning, dying, nearly destroyed. Then it shifted to show what came after: humanity's renaissance, their quantum leap in technology, their transformation into something new. "The message is this," Chen continued. "Humanity faced extinction once. We survived, and we swore it would never happen again. We don't want war. We don't want conquest. But we will never, ever be victims." Guardian's quantum networks released their hold on the Nexian ships, restoring control to their crews. But the quantum viruses remained, dormant but present, a silent reminder and an insurance policy. The transformed sections of their crystal hulls would never return to their original state, becoming permanent monuments to their defeat. But there's more, Chen added. We're offering your empire something no other species has: partnership. Zellara's scales shifted to a surprised purple. Partnership? After we tried to conquer you? Precisely because of that, Dr. Patel's voice joined the conversation. She had been monitoring from Earth, and now her hologram appeared alongside Chen's. Your empire builds incredible ships. Admiral, your crystal technology is beautiful, but you use it only for war. Imagine what we could accomplish together if we focused on exploration instead of conquest. The quantum displays shifted again, showing possible futures. Nexian crystal ships modified with human quantum technology, exploring dimensions no one had ever reached. Joint scientific missions prodding the boundaries of reality itself. A new age of discovery and advancement. This is why we didn't destroy your fleet, Chen explained. This is why we showed restraint. Every technology we used against you can be repurposed for peace. The question is, are you advanced enough to embrace that potential? Admiral Zellara stood silent for a long moment, her scales slowly shifting through colors as she processed everything she had witnessed. Finally, they settled on a deep green, the Nexian color of contemplation and change. You could have destroyed us, she said quietly. Instead, you chose to teach us. Perhaps that is the greatest power of all. The withdrawal of the Nexian fleet began shortly after, their ships escorted by human quantum vessels to the edge of the solar system. But they left changed, carrying with them not just the scars of defeat, but seeds of transformation. The quantum viruses in their ship's systems contain not just defensive protocols, but vast libraries of human scientific knowledge, freely given, waiting to be discovered by those wise enough to look beyond war. As the last Nexian ship disappeared into hyperspace, Chen turned to Dr. Patel's hologram. Do you think they'll accept our offer? They'd be fools not to, she replied. But more importantly, we've shown the galaxy something new. That true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to transform enemies into allies. The quantum defense grid powered down to its standby state, and Earth's mighty ships returned to their dimensional docks. But humanity remained vigilant, forever changed by their experiences. They had faced extinction twice now, first from the Wraith, then from the Nexians, and each time they had emerged stronger, wiser, more advanced. In the days that followed, Guardian detected quantum communications from deep space. The Nexian Empire was calling for diplomats, not warriors. Humanity's greatest victory wasn't just in defending their solar system, but in planting the seeds of peace in an empire built on war. The stars watched in silence as humanity proved once again that the greatest power isn't in weapons or technology, but in the ability to turn conflict into opportunity and enemies into friends.